Alright, so we're going to reinstall the cams. Now, you want to make sure that your timing mark is still correct on T. Put the valve shims back in, which is why we labeled them so specifically. And then with the cams, flip this around. Right there it says in for intake. And then on this cam it says EX for exhaust. And if we look on the face of it here, that mark right there at the top is our timing mark, and then on the face, now this is the exhaust cam, but both of them say intake and exhaust on them. That's so you know it's the correct way around, because if you have it this way, your cam is 180 degrees out from where it needs to be. And then these little marks underneath go level with the cylinder head. So we'll go ahead and start putting this together. This would be a very, very bad time to drop something down into the engine, so be very careful when you're doing this. It probably wouldn't hurt to take your assembly lube and just put a drop of that on top of each of these shims. Because anything you took out and handled or cleaned, there's a potential that you took all the protective oil off of it. And when you start it up, you do not want dry metal parts rubbing each other. I'm going to put the exhaust cam in first. We want to put some assembly lube on all of the journals here. Spread that around a little bit, make sure it gets covered. And then we also want to put it on the cam, on the surface where it rides in that journal. And we also want to put some of this on the actual cam lobe. Anywhere metal touches metal, you're going to want to have this assembly lube. Pull our cam chain up. Now I just laid the chain on there, just loose. It is not timed correctly, obviously. I'm just laying them in there for now so that I can get everything kind of lined up. So I'll go ahead and put some more assembly lube on. Now at this point I'm going to go back in with my screwdriver and my vice grip, and I'm going to relieve all the spring tension from this cam chain tensioner. That's so I can fit the other cam in. I came up with another method. I had been using like an eyeglasses or precision real small terminal screwdriver. This is the bit out of my 6-in-1 screwdriver, a 5/16 ratchet wrench, and then I'm using the vice grip again. So hopefully that gives me enough chain slack to put these in, which is what I was struggling with. There we go, but I'm a tooth off. Intake's gotta come 1 tooth over. Put the gear side in, and then pop it down. There we go. Okay, so through my struggles you can learn. Put the exhaust valve in first, completely, and then hook the gear for the intake cam into the chain. Put the gear side into the cam journal, and then push the back side, the side opposite the gear, for the intake cam down. And I still have my wire on there because I didn't know if it was going to fall in or not. So that's the cams in. Probably a couple of degrees off on my timing mark on the other side, but those marks in the cam gears should be level with the head, which in the in for intake side is down just a hair, but again, if I'm off just a few degrees, it'll throw that off. So that's the cams installed. At this point we can go ahead and finally remove our wire that was around our cam chain, and then we can take our cam chain tensioner stopper device out. Next we're going to install our camshaft holders. Again, we're going to put some more assembly lube on. We want to make sure everything is going to move when we start this thing. So I'll put a little bit more on top of the cam, since both cams actually, since I handled those quite a bit. And then we're going to put some on our cam holder. This is the right side cam holder. And it doesn't have intake and exhaust marks on it, but if you look at it, goes in this way, so you can read the R when you're standing behind the engine. Okay. Pop that into place, and the left side here has the L for left, has in for intake and X for exhaust, because this one would be pretty easy to mix up. So we'll go ahead and hold all our bolts so we don't lose them. And remember, you can look back at my earlier episode with the cams, but I can just tell you again now. On the left side, the long bolts are in the center. The right side, the long bolts are on the outside. And that is important. So there we go. Oh, I didn't put any on the cam, but I put quite a bit on here. Now is the time that if you're unsure to pull it apart and check. Okay, I did pre-lube those cams before I put them in anyway. This is the super critical part that you have assembly lube on. You do not want to put these cams in dry. You will have a very, very bad day. The manual also suggests to put engine oil on the chain, so I'll probably drizzle a little bit of engine oil on top of that chain too. The next step is tightening down these cam holders, and the manual says 12 Newton meters or 9 pound-feet in a crisscross pattern and in several steps. So the first step is I'm going to just run the bolts down with a socket. Something else, before we torque them, I almost forgot this, just put a little bit of oil on the threads for each of these bolts. Okay, I'm going to be using Newton meters just because it's convenient. So initially I'm going to go to 4 Newton meters. I'm going to go up to 6 Newton meters. Our final setting of 12 Newton meters. So let's do. So with the torque wrench, you don't want to be going, oh, there it popped. You want to have a nice smooth movement and have it go click and then stop. Because if it goes click and then you keep going, well, you didn't do the torque right. So again, don't pop, there was the torque. No, it really wasn't. A nice smooth movement and have it click as you're going. Cam chain guide. And this, it just says fasten securely, because this isn't actually holding the cams in. At this time we can put new O-ring in here with a little bit of motor oil on it. Do our cam chain tensioner. We can put that bolt in on top of it. And go ahead and tighten that up. While I'm over here and thinking about it, we can also put some new O-rings in and put this water pipe back in. Now this only goes on one way. So the bolts only go in one way. Make sure you use new O-rings. You don't want all your coolant to leak out right away. A couple quick things I wanted to share with you guys. I've been using a Honda factory service manual, which is, I got it from CRFs only. You can buy these. They're not like manufacturer secrets. One thing you will find if you use the online versions that I've seen a lot of like Facebook groups have is that their service manual is not revised. It's just a digital copy of the factory manual. And relative to what we're working on page 10-5 here, you can see this is actually a sticker that they send with it that you put in over top of the old page. And one of the things that they updated was the torque for the head mounting nuts. So that's something important. If you see in your online version manual that, oh no, it's something different, this is the updated sheet from Honda that came with a manual. But yeah, this is available anywhere really that sells parts. So it's a very helpful tool, especially if you plan on keeping this bike for a long time like I do. It's got step-by-step instructions on how to do literally everything to this bike. So Honda Factory Service Manual, get one. Something I'm very sorry about that I forgot to record is the valve clearance check. You go in just like they're showing here, and there is your tolerance. Mine was within tolerance, and I am so sorry I forgot to record that, but make sure you check that before you put the valve cover on.